Hi everybody, thank you for watching this video. I'm going to keep it really short because I keep starting and stopping again because I get self-conscious about seeing myself on the screen in front of me. So I'm going to keep it short. And what I want to focus on is one little thing that has to do with morphology and to do with syntax and to do with structure, which is what morphology and syntax have in common, right? So morphology, the structure of words, and syntax, the structure of sentences and phrases. And so far what we saw was that sentences are made up of parts called words, and words are made up of parts called morphemes, and that there were some rules about how you put words together to make sentences, and there were some rules that tell you how you put morphemes together to make words. And what I want to tell you about now is that there's even a little bit more to this, that we can represent the structure of words and the structure of sentences using funny looking diagrams, which are sometimes called tree diagrams. So I'm also feeling sick and very sorry for myself, so all of my examples are kind of around a theme which you might notice. So first example I want to talk about is this one, very bad cold. If you think about that phrase, very bad cold, there's 3 words in it. Do you have the feeling that of those 3 words, 2 of them belong together more closely than the other one? So would you say very bad goes together or bad cold goes together? Might be difficult to say. I'm giving you a pause there for you to shout out your answer at the screen. I'm sure you're all doing that. So what I would suggest is, well, maybe very bad goes together. Why is that? Well, because the word very, that describes bad. And then those 2 words together, very bad, describes a cold. So those 2 words together, they describe the next word. So you put them together first, and then you put them together with the 3rd word, with the word cold. Okay, let's compare that with the next phrase I have here, which is under the weather. Under the weather. Okay, so again, a 3-word phrase. And if you think about those 3 words, under, the, and weather, think about, do any of those 2 words, do 2 of those 3 words go together in a way that's kind of separate from the 3rd one? So is it under the, or is it the weather? Which of those seems to kind of hang together better? Under the or the weather? And I reckon for this one, at least, everyone is probably shouting the same answer at the screen, right? You're shouting the weather, because under the doesn't really sound like a thing, doesn't really sound like a phrase. Whereas the weather, yeah, that sounds like a phrase. That's like a regular type of phrase. So in that case, the and weather, those 2 words seem to belong together. The 2nd and the 3rd word go together. And then you put it together with under. If you want to know what it is I'm under, the answer is the weather, right? So these 2 belong together first, and then you add that one. Whereas in the other case, what we said was the first 2 go together first, and then you add the 3rd one. So you see the difference. Let me make the difference a little bit more clear, a little bit more visual by drawing a little diagram. So let's say for this one, what we say is that very and bad go together. They form like a sub-phrase within the 3-word phrase. So we could join them up like this. So 2 lines linking them up. And what that says is those 2 words kind of belong together. They form a sub-phrase within the whole phrase. And then we want to say that those 2 words get linked up to the 3rd word. So those 2 words, we join up with the 3rd word like that. And we make a little diagram. They're called tree diagrams. Don't really look like trees. Maybe they look like, some people say they look like the roots of trees, or maybe if you turn it upside down, it doesn't really look like a tree. But anyway, people call it a tree diagram. So let's see if you can draw the tree diagram for this one, under the weather. Yeah, I'll give you the chance to draw it first. Okay, the clock's ticking. Give you another couple of seconds. You finished? Okay, so I'm going to try and do it. So what we said about this one was that this time it's not the first 2 that go together. It's not under and the, under the, there's not a phrase, it feels like there's something missing, but the second and the third, they go together. The weather, that makes sense, right? That's a phrase. So the weather, so we'll link those two up first, like that, and then we can join the first word together with that phrase. Like that. And now you can compare the two tree diagrams that I've drawn, this one and this one, and as you can see, they're kind of mirror images of each other. So this is a new way of trying to represent the structure of something. You could do it, as I've done here, with phrases, but you could also do it with words, as I'm going to do down here. But the basic point of this, what it tries to show is the idea that within one big thing, there might be smaller things contained within that. So in this case, within the bigger phrase, very bad cold, there's a smaller phrase which is very bad. And within the bigger phrase, under the weather, there is a smaller phrase which is the weather. You could look at it that way, or if you like, you could look at it sort of from the bottom upwards. You could say, well, if you were to put together this phrase, where would you start? So maybe if you were to put together the phrase under the weather, you start off with the weather, put that phrase together, and then you'd add under. And if you wanted to put together this phrase, you might start with very and bad, put them together, and then you could add cold onto that, and then you'd get a whole phrase. That's another way of looking at it. Okay, so now I'm going to see how we can apply that to words. So I've done part of the work already here. Got two words. One is sicknesses, and I've broken sicknesses down into three morphemes. So sicknesses is the plural of sickness, not just one sickness, but many sicknesses. Or no sicknesses, so not just one, but not one, because it's plural, right? Okay, so that's our first word. Broke it down into three morphemes: sick, ness, we've seen that one before, and the plural, right? So spelling it es this time, but as you know, I don't really care about the spelling. And our other word is incurable. Incurable, as in can't be cured. Incurable. And again, I've broken it down into three parts. In there, you can think about what that means. You can shout out at the screen if you like. I'm sure someone is monitoring you, probably Facebook and Google are recording you right now and sending everything you say to the FBI, so you can shout out for them. In means something like not, right? Incurable means not curable. Okay, cure, we know what that means, it's a word. And able, you can think of other words with able in. Can you think of other words with able in? Like winnable, or doable, or believable, or unbelievable, or whatever words you can think of as well. And all those able words seems to mean something like you can do it. It's clearly related to the free morpheme able, although this one's pronounced a little different and it's got a slightly different function. But able means you can do it. So if something is curable, it means it can be cured. If it's incurable, it means it can't be cured. Right. So now what I want to try and do is look at these words that both have three morphemes in them, and work out how those morphemes go together and try to draw a tree diagram to represent the structure of those words, just as we did a tree diagram to represent the structure of the phrases above. Right. So again, I might give you a little chance to have a go at this yourself. When you do sicknesses, what do you think? Do we put sick and ness together first, or do we put ness and s together first? Which one sounds right? Sickness or nesses? Second one, what do you think? So we've got incure and able. Do we put in and cure together first, incure, or do we put cure and able together first, curable? You can think about that. You can try and draw your own tree diagrams. And okay, now I'm going to explain my answer. So I reckon with sicknesses, sick and ness go together. They make a word, right? Sickness is a word. But if you try to put ness and s together, you get nesses. And nesses, that's not really a word, is it? So for that reason, we're going to join sick and ness together first. Sickness, and that makes a noun, right? That's one of the things we know about ness, that it makes nouns. You add it to adjectives and it gives you a noun. And once you have a noun, you can make it plural by adding s or es or whatever onto the end of it. Like that. So that's the tree diagram for that word there. And now over to incurable. So for incurable, I think if you try to put in and cure together, you get incure, and that's not really a word, is it? So we better try curable. 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 You're curable. If you take medicine, you're curable. That's a word. That's a word, right. Okay, so it doesn't work this way with incure, but it does work with curable, so we're going to put those two together. And then if you take curable, you could add in to it. In means not, so incurable should mean not plus curable, not curable. And that is what it means. So there you go. So what we've done now is to draw 4 different tree diagrams. Well, really, if you look at them, we've only done 2 different tree diagrams, right? If we look at the top 2 here, and then we look at the bottom 2 here, you see that these 2 are really the same structure, and these 2 are really the same structure too. So, I promised that I was not going to honk on for too long, so I won't. So I'll just quickly wrap up. What is it that I'm trying to teach you in this mini exciting morphology and syntax video? What I'm trying to teach you is that it seems like words and phrases and sentences have structure. We already know that. We already know that the structure of phrases consists of putting together individual units which are words in particular ways, and the structure of words consists of putting together individual units called morphemes together in particular ways. And what we've done now is shown a way of visually representing the particular ways in which you put those phrases or those words together. And in particular, what this shows is the kind of order in which you put things together. And you can put things together in this way. Say you've got a 3-part something, a 3-part phrase or 3-part word. You could put together the first 2 parts first and then add the third one. Same with this, you could put together the first 2 parts first and then add the third one. Or you could do it the other way, and you could put the second and third parts together first and then add the first one. Same here, the third and the second parts, put them together first and then you add the first one. Right. So there you go. I'll talk about this more next Wednesday and next Wednesday's lecture. And in the meantime, I will give you some exciting things to do to see whether you can take what I've told you in this video and apply it to some more examples. Okay, well, thanks for watching and see you next week.